Okay, in this final video, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Christmas Carol style question and just do all of the steps again from start to finish, okay, but just a little bit more quickly. So, Christmas Carol, read the following extract from stave 1. I'll highlight stave 1 so that I know whereabouts in the novel I'm answering my question on, and then answer the question that follows. In this extract, the ghost of Jacob Marley delivers a warning to Scrooge. So what I'm already thinking about is what's the purpose of Jacob Marley's character? His character is to symbolise Scrooge's future in the afterlife if he doesn't change. He's got heavy chains on him. He has to wander. So I'm already starting to think about what I actually know in terms of what's to come in the extract. Then I like to skip down and see the question first before I go back to the extract. Starting with this extract, how does Dickens use ghosts and visions as a warning to Scrooge? Okay, my focus for the extract is here. The different ways in which Dickens uses the ghost of Jacob Marley as a warning, how the ghosts are presented as warnings in the rest of the novel. Okay, so for the extract, I need to focus on Jacob Marley only and how he's a warning. And in the novel as a whole, I'm looking at ghosts and visions in general and how they are warnings. Okay, now I'm going to go through the extract and see what ideas I can focus on for the extract. Try and think of 3 points that I can make. Okay, it is required of every man the ghost returned, that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men, and travel far and wide, and if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world, oh woe is me, and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth, and turn to happiness. Okay, so here's a piece of evidence that I knew in terms of what I already knew about Jacob Marley. So one of the way in which he's presented as a warning is to demonstrate what the punishment is going to be in the afterlife. Okay, wandering, and also lost the power to intervene and witness what it cannot share, but what it might have shared, and turn to happiness. So the warning here is that Marley has lost his ability to intervene now that he sees the change in his ways. This kind of, we could say, links to, we're going to springboard that to the rest of the play. I'm thinking about the Ghost of Christmas Present when he shows Scrooge, Tiny Tim, and how he will die and he sees a vacancy. And I'm also thinking about the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. So I'm going to pick the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come when he shows Scrooge his grave, and then Scrooge begs him not to die so that he doesn't end up like Marley and he can intervene and make a change. And then I'm also going to link that to how he does change at the end, and how Scrooge changes Cratchit's life and actually saves Tiny Tim. So what Scrooge is doing at the end here is doing what Marley couldn't do and can't do in the afterlife. Back to the text. Again the spectre raised a cry and shook its chain and wrung its shadowy hands. "You are fettered," said Scrooge, trembling. "Tell me why." "I wear the chain I forged in life," replied the ghost. "I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it of my own free will, and of my own free will I wore it. Is its pattern strange to you?" Scrooge trembled more and more. "Oh, would you know," pursued the ghost, "the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was full and heavy and long as this 7 Christmases ago. You have laboured on it since, and it's a ponderous chain." So the chain here, as we know, is a symbol. And it doesn't talk about it here, but we could talk about how it has many things on it that represents Marley's and Scrooge's sins in life. So it has cash boxes, keys and chains, keys and padlocks, to represent the sin of greed, especially the cash boxes. Okay, the moral sin of greed. Obviously, greed isn't a legal sin, it's a moral sin. Okay, so the chain is a representation, it's a symbol. So now we're starting to write about writer's methods, which we know we get marks for in the exam. Okay, so I've made a couple of points there, and how the chain itself is a symbol, and I'm springboarding that to another part in the novel, which was just before this part, which talks about the chain in a little bit more detail. I could try and think about, maybe, are there any other symbols in the novel that represent a warning to Scrooge? I'm just trying to have a think. Struggling here, but however, we could maybe link it to the symbol of ignorance and want, the two children who are shown to Scrooge by the Ghost of Christmas present. So when we're answering this second question here, the rest of the novel, I'm making a link to stave 3 and how ignorance and want are also symbols. So the ghost is using the vision or the symbol of ignorance and want, the children, to show more of a man's moral sins: greed, ignorance. Okay, and I could probably do with making another point. I think maybe perhaps how Scrooge is feeling in this extract, and how this represents a warning to Scrooge. So actually Scrooge's reaction to the ghosts and how he's scared of them. What is the other ghost that he's scared of? He's scared of Marley and the things that he's telling him, but he's also scared of the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. And actually he fears him, can use a quote there, "I fear you most of all." And also in terms of how the ghost is presented, it's a dark, shadowy figure. So in terms of answering this big question here, and the second question, and also the first one, how are the ghosts presented as a warning? Well, they scare Scrooge. Marley scares Scrooge, and the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come scares Scrooge. Okay, interchanging. Okay, so I've got my 3 points there. I've got this one here, and this one here. Okay, now I'm ready to write my answer. Okay, in terms of the exam, that process would be a lot quicker for you. We spent maybe about just over 5 minutes doing that. I mean, you would want to spend about 5 minutes on your plan as well, and then that sort of gives you about 45 minutes to write. We will cover actually how to write an answer in another lesson, but I just wanted to show you sort of the process of how you actually approach the task. So what you've got now is you've got a number of exam question packs for Macbeth and A Christmas Carol to do the same process, essentially, and have a practice. So just more practice you can get, the better. And you never know, one of those questions might come up in the exam. So the more practice you can get, the better.